Pac didn't understand who he was at first. And I think he was fighting himself. And that's why he wasn't consistent with his music. I hate that everyone thinks that Tupac is the greatest rapper of all time.
I think that Tupac is one of the greatest rappers of all time and should be on everybody that's a hip hop head's top 10 rappers alive for them.
The reason why I don't consider him the GOAT, because the GOAT comes with so many different things. So in order to be the greatest rapper of all time, you have to think what comes under that tier. Lyrically, you have to be amazing. Your content has to be on point. Social issues, your discography, your body of work, MCing, because MCing means master of the mic.
Right.
You understand? You have to be able to battle. And I don't think that Tupac embodied all of that. So I can't say he's the greatest rapper when we have so many other people who've done that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't sit here and say that Tupac is better than Kool G Rap. I can't say that he's better than Rakim or Big Daddy Kane. So no, Tupac is not the greatest rapper of all time because he does not check off all those little boxes.
Okay, I definitely have to disagree with that. All right, first of all, Tupac has, a manuscript of work that is, his work ethic is beyond anything I've ever seen, right? So we see this prolific kind of thing going on with Lil Wayne, with a lot of these rappers that are considered some of the greatest today in like contemporary form. That's one. Two, one of the biggest rappers that has touched the people and has created a movement is Tupac. I think to be like on a category of the best, you have to change culture, which he definitely changed culture. He shifted culture. You have to have a body of work that touched the people, that moved the people, which I think that he definitely did. And you have to have a body of work that has gone through the test of time. Can we look at his lyrics and say it's gone through the test of time? Yeah, we can see a song like Changes. I see no changes. Wake up in the morning and I ask myself, is life worth it? All these lyrics, there's still people in the struggle, in the hood, that are still connecting to these lyrics. And it's been how many years since he died?
Okay, but Tupac wasn't the first person to do that. He wasn't the first rapper. He even said in his song Words of Wisdom, he gave credit to the people that came before him. So you got Ice Cube, you got KRS-One, you got Public Enemy. These are the people, the forefathers, who were actually talking about social change before Pac was even thinking about rapping. You understand? Like, Pac wasn't the first one. Tupac did put all those things in his lyrics, but Tupac wasn't consistent. He wasn't consistent with himself. I feel like with Pac, it was more quantity over quality. Pac just threw everything at you.
Wow,
where it's like
that's like really out of pocket.
That
is just foul. I gotta say that, Tupac, okay, so, I forgot what you said, actually. Wait, what was the last thing you said? What was the last thing you said?
I said Pac was more quantity over quality.
That's right. Let me take that back. All right, so, that's so we have like somebody like Gucci Mane that has 72 mixtapes out, right? We have Future, we have all these people. People can argue that somebody like Future is all quantity and not quality, right? Somebody can say that because, the consistency of his lyrics is just kind of watered down. So you got to really evaluate. If you have a man that has a song like Brenda's Got a Baby or Changes or Dear Mama, you know what I mean? Are you gonna go against a man because he has 200 songs? Like, the proliferation of his music, every single one is not a hit, or every single one is not, a big song? I think that goes more to a testament of his work ethic. As a person, he had a sense of urgency. He wanted to get the message out. What does that have to do with him being like a good artist? So what you're saying basically is because he made a lot of music, that the few songs that were really big hits weren't potent enough?
Yeah, because to be considered the greatest of all time, that's under that package. I'm not gonna sit here and say Gucci Mane. Yeah, Gucci Mane makes amazing music, so does French Montana, but I would never say they are the greatest rappers of all time. There's no way. Yeah, Pac made a lot of good music, but for instance, Big made 2 amazing, great albums, right. Biggie Smalls.
Right.
And that's all we got from Big.
Right.
And that's how we're gonna judge Biggie Smalls
Absolutely.
till today.
Right.
Unfortunately, the way we judge Pac, he threw music at us and he wasn't consistent. Pac didn't understand who he was at first. And I think he was fighting himself. And that's why he wasn't consistent with his music. Right. I do not think he is the GOAT.
Okay, I hear you. And all I'm saying is that he should be top 5 rappers for everybody. That's what I'm saying, okay? So we can argue
Nah,
that.
fam. Nah, fam. I think it's all opinion based. We all have our opinions of who our top 5 is.
Right.
But I think if you are a hip hop head and you consider yourself a hip hop head, you have to say, why is this person in my top 5? And you have to go with lyricism. And Pac's lyrics were okay. They were mediocre.
Right.
They weren't fine.
All right, it doesn't have to be all about lyricism. All right, there are people that there's a lot of factors that factor into the greatest hip hop artists. There's a reason why Tupac is one of Eminem's favorite top 5. There's a reason why he's Jay-Z's. There's a reason why. To me, it's kind of like saying lyricism is the only thing that plays into like being a top. No, absolutely not. There's a reason why we brought him out in Coachella. Do you think it was because of his lyricism? Nobody gave a shit about his lyricism there. It's his energy. It's what he makes the people feel. It's the way that he touches the community. This guy comes from a background of the Black Panther movement, the Black Liberation movement. Yeah, of course, we have seen KRS-One and people that have talked about it. That doesn't mean that he can't take it to the next level, and that doesn't mean that that invalidates him because he didn't have, let's say, Biggie's type of lyrics, or he had a lot of metaphors and stuff like that. Who cares? He was moving the people. He was touching the people. Isn't that, at the end, more important than your lyricism?
When it comes to being the greatest rapper, I don't think it's more important. I do think Pac is more popular now because he's died. Before you blow the horn, listen to this. People, when they talk about Pac today, people don't really talk about his music. They talk about Tupac the person. If you get down to it, no one talks about Pac's music the way they talk about Big L's music, who's no longer here. The way they talk about Big's music, the way they talk about Big Pun's music. No one talks about Pac's music. They talk about the social change. What was he actually doing? We didn't get a chance to see Pac evolve because he died at 25. So to me, it's very important because I do consider myself a hip hop head. Those things are important. Lyricism, storytelling. He told okay stories, but there's 10 people I could put before him that told better stories. Cube told a better story. Common, and I used to love her. Nas, I gave you power. Those are good stories. Pac told okay stories, but he gave us so much music where we have to judge all of that music to be considered the GOAT. If you sitting at the top to be the GOAT, I can't just be like, oh, well, he made a social change. Nah, fam, like, what is the GOAT? And unfortunately, some of the GOATs that I consider GOATs, they're not as popular. Black Thought is not as popular, but lyrically, he would murder anybody.
I think that you're talking about strictly lyricism, and I think I'm a hip hop head as well. I listen to Common, I listen to, Wu-Tang, I listen to all of these. I grew up listening to all these people, but what I'm saying is that, there is a lot of things that come together to create one of the greatest, like I talked about Michael Jackson and all these people, right? And I feel like Tupac does embody all those elements. He was a great storyteller. He might not be your favorite storyteller. Maybe the stories that he weren't telling didn't touch you. It touched me. I came from the same areas that he came from, and a lot of us do. So I think that, when you hear him, you have to take into consideration that he wasn't just a lyricist. It wasn't about his lyrical content. Yeah, his lyrical content as a hip hop head is important, but it's also, like I said, once again, what he's bringing to the people, you know what I mean? That's super important. He was not just somebody that was, talking about the movement. He was also a poet. He was an actor. He was one of the first people that kind of brought, this hip hop culture to the forefront for Black men that were in the ghetto. You know what I mean? And I think that to me is very important with his movies, Juice. I feel like with his poetry books, there wasn't a lot of rappers that were doing all of that at that time. There was lyricism, maybe there was the social consciousness, but were they doing the poetry? Were they doing the social movement? Were they doing, were they doing all of that? Was it the full package?
Pac was not the first person to bring the message, I guess you could say, because we actually have the song called The Message, where these forefathers, these rappers in the 1980s was talking about what was going on in the Bronx, what was going on in the Black neighborhoods. Tupac was not the first. Yeah, I give him credit to where credit's due, but I can't sit here and say he was the first person to do it. You understand? Like, yes, he was an actor, but so was LL Cool J. So was Will Smith. Will Smith was one of the first. Like, let's not forget Queen Latifah, Common, Mos Def. These are all rappers who turned into great actors who are still doing their thing now. They made a show for Will Smith called The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, where you have a rapper on NBC on a show. That wasn't known of. Yeah, Pac had poetry books, but let's be real. At the end of the day, he wasn't the first, and he's not the only rapper who was into acting.
Right.
And if Pac was alive, would he still be doing those things today?
Right.
And that's why I don't consider him to be the greatest of all time, because he did that, but so did 50 other rappers.
Right. Okay.
Because if we're gonna say he's the greatest, so is LL Cool J. He called himself the GOAT. So
Right.
Can we hold LL to that stance? Because LL is killing it right now on CSI.
Right. Okay. Okay. So yeah, let's be real. Let's take it there. Let's be real. So you're trying to compare Tupac to LL Cool J, which is kind of funny to me. But anyways, he brought a level of authenticity in an era where there was commercial packaging for rappers. So LL Cool J was a lover boy. You know what I'm saying? Mama's gonna knock you out. You have to deal with the duality of the artist. He was getting arrested. He would got arrested by cops, got beat down. I mean, these things is going to change the culture, and it's going to change what people are seeing and the way that they're seeing the rapper, and it's going to change him, right? So we're talking about a guy that he put himself out there to what he really was. He wasn't trying to be a commercial package. He could only be who he was, which was coming from this background of, Black Panther movement, getting beat down by the cops, also wanting to be authentic and be a poet and preach to the people and create a movement, but, also being a thug and knowing that he came from the streets and knowing that there is a victimization of, the Black culture in the community. And I think he really wanted to speak to that, So that to me is more important, the authenticity of an artist, not being a commercial package, being who he really is, through it all, through the mess he's showing you, day in and day out, his struggles and connecting with the people. That's deep. That's dope.
Well, let's be real, fam. Pac went to a school in Baltimore for performing arts. Let's keep it all the way 100. Pac was not a thug. Pac didn't live that life. Yeah, he came from, his ancestors were Black Panthers, and he moved around in the system, but Pac wasn't a thug. He was with Death Row. They were the thugs. Those were the Bloods. Those are the real people on the front line. I feel like if you talk about rap and Pac, it's like his lyrics were kind of hypocritical, because when he first comes out, when he's with Digital Underground, he's a totally different person from All Eyes on Me. If you listen to his lyrics, two different people, and I think that was his struggle. That doesn't make you a bad person. I just think struggling, he didn't know who he was.
I mean, I came from the struggle and I went to college. None of my parents went to college. That doesn't mean that it doesn't take away from my struggle. Tupac was a man that still struggled, and yeah, his sound changed because he got beat down by the cops and he was seeing the social injustice around him. I mean, that's gonna change somebody. It's gonna change what you're talking about. It's gonna change your behavior, and it's gonna change your aggressivity and your message and the sense of urgency, which is why I think he was so adamant about pushing so much music, right? I don't think that he's trying to tell you that, you know what I'm saying, I'm a gangster, I'm a thug, like the way that you're, I think that what he's saying is, white America thinks I'm a thug. They're beating the shit out of me. The cops are doing this and that, you know what I'm saying? I'm getting put in prison, unjustly. And so white America thinks I'm a thug, so that's what thug life is. That's what the movement is. That's the way that, I think that he kind of put that package back to the people and made that movement happen.
But isn't that the same shit that people give Amber Rose problems for? She takes the word slut and she's like, I made a slut box, and everyone's like, but this is how society sees me. I think Pac did label himself a thug. He got the tattoo Thug Life when he was locked up.
Right.
He made songs about, there was a whole West Coast, East Coast beef because of what Pac was spitting after the whole situation of him being shot in Quad Studios. After he knew Big had nothing to do with that. After he got with Death Row, that's why I said he was different from when he came from Digital Underground to when he got to Death Row. Because if you listen to All Eyes on Me, he's telling Big, he's telling Nas, he's telling Hov, he's telling Mobb Deep, I will fucking kill you.
Right.
I hate all of you.
Right.
So he did label himself a thug because that's the energy that he was giving. That's the energy that he got from Death Row because he knew that they would have his back.
Right.
So that's why I say he's a hypocrite if you really think about it. Yeah, we got a Dear Mama and a Brenda's Got a Baby, but that's why I said it's easier to judge Pac because he gave us so much music and it was so much thrown at us. Whereas Big, we knew who Big was. Big told us who he was in 2 albums. We know who Nas is. Tupac, we do not know who Tupac is. And that's the struggle that I think was with Tupac. I think he was hypocritical in his lyrics.
I mean, to me, to say that Tupac's a hypocrite because he didn't embody the gangster image because he went to a private school, I mean, that argument to me I feel like you can't take away from an artist because he went to a good performing arts school, period. I think that, like I said, that was a time, I think, when artists were being very perfectly commercially packaged, and I think that Tupac didn't have a problem with showing who he really is. And there is gonna be always a duality to the artist, just like there is to us humans, you know what I'm saying? Like, we saw him transform from, being a teen to, being 25 years old in the screen on a very short period of time, which, I mean, from anybody that knows from that period, like from 18 to 25, I mean, you're gonna go through a lot of different changes, right? And like I said, we also saw him on TV, getting arrested, getting shot by the cop. I mean, there's a lot of different things that happen that I think that is gonna change somebody on screen. But I think the most important part is that he never hid that from people. He always showed what was really happening to him, what was really going on in his mind, what the message, the most important thing that always stayed the same was the message was consistent. And the message was always, a vehicle to move the people. You keep saying he didn't really do anything for the people. Making the music and sending the message out, that in itself is a revolution. So I disagree with, the hypocrisy of what you're saying. Yeah.
I think you going to a private school does not take away from your struggle. I think what it does is when you do loudly say, I'm a thug, I'm living this life, then yeah, people who listen to hip hop are gonna look at you. Just like if a rapper came out and said, I'm the greatest rapper of all time, but then we find out you have a ghostwriter, of course we're gonna question you because that's what it is. It's totally different if you go to this private school and you're not portraying this life that's really not you. Tupac, we all love Tupac, he's legendary, but fam, if we're gonna bring it around to being the greatest rapper of all time, there's no way that I'm gonna put him before the greats before him. And I think he would even agree with that. And I think people respectfully put him in their top 5 because we pay homage to him because he has passed away. But if we're gonna account for everything for being the greatest, and that comes with the whole package, I think Pac doesn't have that whole package. And that is why I hate when people say he's the greatest rapper of all time.
All right, you know what? We're just gonna have to agree to disagree, baby girl.
Facts.
What up, squad? I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, you can hit the subscribe button. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram by clicking the links below. Until next time, thanks for watching All Def Music.